Hey, good morning. It's a Thursday, so I'm doing my my video log a little bit early this week, and I wanted to really talk about the 30 years that me and Darryl have been together. And in the last one, I spoke about the reams and reams and reams of paperwork that we had to deal with on a daily basis, and we still have to deal with, mainly because of officialdom as such. So it's a continual process. This week I really wanted to talk about torn between four countries. It's a really difficult one because, at the moment, I'm in Australia, and many people have turned around to me and said how lucky I am to be able to live overseas in a place they'd love to be. And especially at my age, what am I, 54? And I know the cut-off point, I think, for Australia is either 40 or 45. I can't remember. So I'm extremely lucky to be here. I know that. But it doesn't mean to say that I'm necessarily enamoured about being here. I like Australia. Australia has been brilliant. It's given me, Darryl, a life that we could have never ever dreamt of in the UK. And for that, I'm truly grateful. But there's always a but. I'm not necessarily happy. Let's go back. So when we met in the UK, and we lived in Southampton, so city along the south coast of England, and we were there for approximately 20 years. We have a huge network of friends there, even now, and we lived in a wonderful community. And it was a community, I suppose, of like-minded gay people, if you want to call it that. We loved being there. We loved living there. We liked the people. It was a wonderful place to be. And it will always be home, certainly to me. It was the first place I moved to when I left home and went to university. And it's got a real connection with me in my heart, for sure. So it was a wrench when in 2015, after we were married, we decided that we would move to Spain. I had my doubts about Spain from day one, and I really didn't know if this frivolousness, this spontaneity was going to work. Because literally we just threw everything up in the air and said, that's it, we are moving to Spain. Everything was sold. The rest of what we had was in the back of a van, and we left for Alicante. Living in Spain, look, when I look back at my time in Spain now, I look back at it with fondness. And the expat community, I've spoken about this so many times before, the expat community, the place we lived in, everything about it was wonderful. We were accepted without exception. So everyone welcomed us with open arms. The cost of living was cheap. I think we paid, again, I've mentioned this so many times, I spent at one stage about €20 a week on food living in Spain. You knew where to shop. It's a bit like Australia. You have to go from shop to shop to get the cheapest thing. But you know what? I didn't have a lot of money at that time. And it's what I did to survive. Cooked in bulk, did all those things. But like, my gran would have done in the 1950s. And really, deep down, I loved it. At the time, I complained about it profusely. all the time. And I guess that was more to do with the fact that Daryl was, gosh, he was living in Australia for a period of time. He was caring for his mother. So, you know, we were parted, and it was difficult circumstances. I think if he'd been there all the time, things would have been very, very different, for sure. So Spain was, I suppose, the dream. And it kind of wasn't the dream in reality, because, you know, we arrived in the middle of winter. The rain was horrendous. The wind, we were on the top of a ravine. We were a fully exposed villa. So we got pelted by rain and wind, and it was lovely. The views were great. I mean, you could see the fog rolling in across the sea. It was beautiful, but the reality was it was bloody freezing cold. Like Australia, there was no heating, nothing at all. So you literally used to have to, you know, to try your best to stay warm, whether that was an electric blanket or just wearing extra layers. We got an old, what do you call them, Calagas fire in the end, and that was fine, except it was leaking and there was gas coming out, and that was not good. But we were just trying everything that we could to keep warm. The mould in that house we lived in was unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. There was the house mainly consisted of staircases, so you used to have to go up 1, 2, 3 flights of stairs. And the flight of stairs from the top floor to the solarium was covered in mould, absolutely covered. Yeah, it was not ideal. So the view I have on it now is possibly a little bit more romanticised. The second house we moved to in Gran Alicante was a lot better. It was down the bottom of the ravine. There was no exposure. We had beautiful views of nature reserve. It was lovely, but it wasn't as tumultuous as it was on top of the ravine, should we say. This was in 2015. Now, before that, about the year 2000, we had this bright idea of buying a house in France, which we did. We bought a tiny little stone cottage in a place called Le Landais Saint-Simeon near Orny in Swiss Normandy. And we drew up plans. We were going to do this, we were going to do that, had a lot of land as well. And, you know, ideally, that's where we were going to live. At the time, we were running our own business, so the house kind of took a back seat. I bought another house, actually. So I bought a house up north, which I rented out. And then we decided to buy another house up north as a holiday home, which we did. So the house in France kind of took a back seat. And for all intents and purposes, it became a bit of a millstone, because I subsequently found out that in order to get anything done in France, it's really about who you know. And the mairie was the important contact, and it was his say-so about what you could and couldn't get done. And, you know, the red tape and paperwork would have been horrendous, absolutely horrendous. And I don't think, you know, either, you know, myself or Daryl really were up for it. So we sold it. Kept the other two, sold that one. That was our first foray into Europe. Spain was the second. Spain we did fall in love with. We really did. And I know when we were looking in France to buy a place, we were sort of debating between France and Spain at the time. And I really wish to God we picked Spain. I really do. But we didn't pick France. The British love-hate relationship with France was very clear. Exceedingly so. And yeah, Spain's a bit different. But with Brexit now, that's out of the question. Well, France and Spain is out of the question, for sure. We are looking into Portugal, but that's another matter. And now Australia. So we're living in Australia. And we have travelled around quite a lot. I worked out the other day, I was talking to a friend, that we moved around 30 times together. And, you know, we moved across the world, we moved to different counties in the United Kingdom. And yeah, God, It's been non-stop, literally non-stop. So Australia, gosh, I wouldn't say it feels like my forever home. As I said, it's given me everything I've ever wanted, needed, desired, whatever. I have money. I bought a house which will be paid off in about 9 years. Brand new car. We have everything that we possibly need. And it's given us. I get a good wage. Daryl gets a good wage. 2 cats. You know, we're certainly not going to move anywhere yet. But long term, I don't know. I'm debating that on a daily basis. I fell in love with Thailand. I watch stuff on YouTube, so I watch videos about moving abroad, living abroad, etc., etc. And Thailand isn't necessarily all it's cracked up to be. I'm well aware of that. My plan is long term, once the house is paid off, rent the house out and maybe rent somewhere in Thailand and stay there for a bit just to see if we do like it, if it works out well. I don't know. This will be, 10 years down the line. So we're talking a while yet. But it's a thought. I don't think either of us want to go back to the UK. It's too raw. When I watch the news from home all the time, it's dreadful. It's really dreadful. The politics, everything about the place is just bloody awful. I meet a lot of, British people here all the time. They say the same thing. They don't mind visiting from time to time, but they certainly would never want to live back there. And I wouldn't. If I had to, obviously I would. But it wouldn't be my first choice, preference. At the moment, Australia's my preference. It really is. But in the future, Europe would be my ideal place to live. But where? I don't know. I know I've had this conversation with all of you before in my blogs and vlogs. But I think at the moment it's becoming more noticeable in my life, if you know what I mean. Because there is a great sense of dissatisfaction here. And I think I put that down to not having a network of friends. That is obviously really difficult to deal with. We have the network back in the UK and we do keep in regular contact with everyone there. But not having a network here is really quite difficult. And, we obviously have Daryl's mother. We have several friends, but we don't have a wide network here. So that makes it quite hard. Because it is really just me and Daryl together and that's it. The UK, we had so many friends, it was untrue, too many in and out of the house all the time. And that also created problems in itself. So we're looking for something in the middle. Spain was kind of like that because you could dip in and out of the expat community whenever you wanted to. You didn't have to permanently live in it. You could walk down the square, you could have a couple of pints of Mao, some sangria, sat in Sierra Mar or what was the other ones called? Gosh. Plaza Mer. That was the other one. So you could walk. We could literally walk from my house down to these little squares. We could sit there. It's Carabassi. That's another one as well. And we could just have a couple of drinks, chat with some other expat friends, and we could go home. That's it. Dip in and out as and when you want to do. That's the kind of life that I would love. I really would going forward. That would be ideal for me. I don't know if that will happen. I mean, look, if we move to Thailand for a bit, maybe we would sort of fit into some sort of community there. Maybe not. I don't know. It's all about swings and roundabouts and finding out what's ideal for you, really. So all these things to think about. We've been together 30 years. And I don't think we're ever going to stop traveling to an extent. We're always trying to find that ideal place to live. And Spain was the closest. Thailand's getting there. There are other places as well. A friend of ours lives in Da Nang in Vietnam, and I actually quite like Da Nang, and I wish we'd spent more time there. We only spent a very short period of time there, and I would have loved to have spent a little bit longer, you know, meeting other people as well. It's a great place. A lot of bloggers dip in and out of life there, and what are they called? Digital nomads, that's the one. So there's that big community there as well. There's lots of different options available to us, and once the house is paid off and we've got that money behind us, it's you know, it will be something to think about in the future. Because yeah, we've been together 30 years. I'm not like my mother was or my father is, and doesn't want to leave the confines of, you know, the little village that he grew up in or the country that he knows. I want to see more. You know, if I had money, I would be constantly traveling, I can assure you. But that's not going to happen, clearly. I'm not a millionaire, I never will be. And I just like what I like. Like speaking on YouTube, I don't edit anything. I don't believe in that, because you're just creating a false narrative. And if you're going to do a vlog or a video log, speak, talk, don't edit, just talk. Say what you want to say. You know, if it goes wrong, if you make mistakes, if you don't know what to say, fine, don't edit it, because it's all about how you're feeling at the time. Blogging for me is about a diary, and it's about a diary of events. So I can look back and I can think, oh, Luke, you looked really bad that day. You could tell by the context of what I was talking about, yeah, you weren't good. You're a bit rambling. I do that all the time. Darryl says that to me, actually. He says stop rambling. Rambling on. And I do. But hey. So, 30 years. Still going strong. Ups and downs. That's not ever going to change. Still thinking about where to move to. That's never going to change. The only difference now is we're not struggling for money, and you know, we can do more or less what we want. You know, we're traveling to Thailand and Singapore in a few months and spending our anniversary in Thailand, and we're going to meet a friend in Singapore from the UK, so that should be good. I've heard a lot about Singapore, how expensive it is, so it's going to cost me a bit of money. And hopefully I'd like to meet some more friends. It's easier for them to travel to Asia than what it is for them to come to Australia, because it's double the length of time, really. So it's all about exploring the world we live in. That's what I'd like to be. That's what I'd like to do. I'm not going to edit that bit at all. So that's what I'd like to do. And, you know, let's see what happens. So I hope you're all well. Hope you're all looking after yourself, and have a good one.